Most people think the Chinese have small families. This is because in the 1970s, the Chinese started the one-child policy. The Chinese government was worried about how many people were living in China. They decided to regulate the growing population. Parents that have more than 1 or 2 children may have to pay a fine. Exceptions are made for families in rural areas because their farms need helping hands to grow crops and raise livestock. Chinese households may not be as small as you might think because many Chinese homes have grandparents, parents, and children living in the same home. If you ever get to travel to China or even go to your local Chinese restaurant, you'll want to know a little about Chinese mealtime manners and a few basics of chopstick use. It is bad manners to tap chopsticks on the edge of your bowl. At one time, beggars made this sort of noise to attract attention. It is impolite to spear food with a chopstick. Anything too difficult to be handled with chopsticks is usually eaten with a spoon. It is considered bad manners to point chopsticks toward others seated at the table. Chopsticks should not be left vertically stuck into a bowl of rice because it looks like the ritual of incense burning that symbolizes feeding the dead and death in general. Be careful not to dig or search through your food for something in particular. This is sometimes known as digging one's grave or grave digging and is extremely impolite. Putting your chopsticks at the top of the bowl means "I've finished." Putting your chopsticks on the side of your bowl or on a chopstick stand means that you're just taking a break from eating. Remember to chew with your mouth closed, finish your personal rice bowl, and don't burp. In China, you should try what you were offered, but don't feel like you have to finish it all. If the plates are completely clean at the end of a meal, your host might feel that they haven't given you enough to eat. It's normal to hold the rice bowl up to your mouth and use chopsticks to push or scoop the rice into your mouth. Rice in China is not usually served on a plate. For over 2,000 years, the Chinese have been practicing traditional forms of medicine, many of which are still popular today. It is important to recognize that most traditional forms of Chinese medicine incorporate both practical and spiritual elements. Many forms of Chinese medicine include the use of raw plant materials and animal substances mixed together. These are often taken orally and are natural treatments to common ailments. This form of medicine is still popular in China, but is often used in conjunction with Western medicine, which is growing in popularity in China. You've probably already heard of one form of Chinese medicine called acupuncture. Acupuncture involves the insertion of small needles into certain parts of the body called acupoints. It is believed that placing needles in acupoints helps to directly influence the life force within us, called qi. Acupuncture is used to treat a variety of conditions, ranging from back and muscle pain to allergy relief and emotional concerns. It has even gained some popularity in Western cultures as people look for alternatives to treatments that may be too expensive or have undesirable side effects. Many other traditions have been passed down generation to generation based on principles that are rooted in the concept of yin-yang and the 5 elements. The commonly recognized symbol of the yin and yang means balance. In Chinese medicine, good health is believed to be achieved by obtaining that balance. The 5 elements are fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. In Chinese medicine, the different parts of the human body relate to each of the 5 elements and are used in the diagnosis and therapy of medical conditions. The Chinese have been producing developed music for at least 3,100 years, and it has been an intricate part of the Chinese culture ever since. The oldest known piece of written Chinese music is from the 7th century, called Youlan, or Solitary Orchid in English. Anciently, music was seen as an important part of the Chinese culture. Even in ancient times, emperors would scour the land for the best pieces of popular music. Chinese opera, which was established almost 24 centuries ago, has been an important part of Chinese music identity, and has been influential in Chinese cultural development. The distinctive sound of Chinese opera is instantly recognizable worldwide, as are the costumes and masks, each of which has significant meaning of its own. In the mid to late 20th century, Chinese pop music was labeled by the Communist Party as being offensive. They felt that it was not art, on par with more traditional musical styles, which caused a decline in its popularity among the Chinese people. Even now, almost all Chinese language artists are from Taiwan, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, or at the very least, grew up abroad. Today, modern pop music is growing in China and is becoming more successful. China's music industry is increasingly diverse and has been gaining recognition outside of China. Chinese artists regularly play to sell out crowds all over the world, especially in North America and Australia. Chinese music has been heavily influenced by Western markets, such as the United States and Europe, and has mimicked some of the same music styles. The Chinese have a saying, "Ren shan, ren hai," literally translated, "People mountain, people sea." This expression is used to describe very large numbers of people. This phrase is often used to describe China's vast population, which currently exceeds 1.3 billion people. In an effort to help reduce social, economic, and environmental problems, in 1979 the Chinese government instituted a one-child policy. Under this policy, families living in urban areas are restricted to having only one child, but there are several situations that allow for couples to have additional children. For example, the one-child policy doesn't apply to couples who have twins, couples who live in rural areas, couples that are themselves products of the one-child policy, and couples who belong to certain ethnic minority groups. Naturally, this change has had an effect on the culture and social lives of the Chinese. Within the last decade or so, as the first generation of only children become parents themselves, the 4-to-1 situation has presented itself. 4 grandparents, 2 parents, and 1 child. This has altered the structure of Chinese families, increasing the need for some grandparents to rely on retirement funds and charities for support. This also means that children of the one-child policy receive more attention from their parents and grandparents. Though they receive more support, there is also increased pressure for these only children to perform well in school and have a successful career. As its effects continue to influence Chinese society, the one-child policy is an ongoing subject of much debate. How will it change in your lifetime? Respecting and honoring the elderly has been a significant part of Chinese culture for centuries. The oldest person in a family or business has the most respect, honor, and dignity. Young people can call an older person ye ye, grandfather, and nai nai, grandmother, ayi, aunt, and shu shu, uncle, as a sign of respect even though they are not really related. When you arrive at a party or at someone's home in China, you should greet the oldest person first as a way of showing respect. When you speak to someone older than you, be polite and respectful. The elderly are supposed to be well cared for and appreciated. In China, parents would traditionally live with their children and grandchildren. But now, more and more young adults are having to move out due to the strains of modern life, leaving their elderly parents alone. I'm sure you have seen hot air balloons roaming around the sky at some point, but did you know that you could make your very own? Or something similar to it anyway. They are called Chinese sky lanterns. They work just like a mini hot air balloon, except you can't really ride in it. They started out as tools in China to send signals, and eventually evolved into what we now know as hot air balloons. Today, the lanterns are used for celebrations where they are released into the sky with a written message or wish, and make for a very pretty sight. So if you'd like to celebrate the New Year or other holidays, Chinese style, you could get a group of friends together, sip on some hot chocolate, and let the lanterns fly. If you ever get the chance to visit a traditional Chinese home, here are a few things you'll want to know and remember. Most Chinese people are happy to have guests visit their homes. You can bring a gift if you'd like. A good gift might be something like fruit or some kind of drink. You also might be offered slippers to wear while you're visiting. Remember to remove your shoes when entering the home. It's good manners and shows respect. Either you'll use slippers while you're visiting, or you'll walk around in socks. It's important to most Chinese to be on time. If you are invited somewhere, don't be late. Showing up on time is respectful to other people. This is more important in big cities than it is in the countryside. Lastly, the Chinese generally don't make compliments. When visitors compliment something, the Chinese will often say the opposite. If you say a young girl is cute, they might be embarrassed about the compliment. If you say a meal is good, they might say something didn't turn out right. This is part of Chinese culture. Don't be too surprised, but do your best to be polite and everyone will be happy. Tai Chi is a form of exercise combined with meditation and martial arts. Slow movements characterize it, and graceful and smooth transitions between them give the impression of slow-motion fighting. Tai Chi has also become very popular in the Western Hemisphere, where it is used mostly for meditation. Tai Chi means supreme or ultimate fist, and is considered a full contact sport, but it is also believed that the moves originally came from the natural movements of birds and animals. In the different styles of Tai Chi as a martial art, there is room for the use of weapons like the lance and the dao, which is a type of sword that gives Tai Chi a very particular feel. Aside from exercise, Tai Chi is used to achieve the calm mind. Focusing on the precise execution of the exercise allows for improvement of balance, control, and relaxation. A lot of people, especially in the West, see Tai Chi as a form of yoga and meditation combined. And if you pay close attention while watching a martial arts movie, chances are you will see sequences of Tai Chi moves.